Hello, welcome to the show. This is Hack Hunter, where we review some of the best and worst tattoo artists that are in your city. Now, this is part number 2 of our Fort Wayne, Indiana episode. Go check out part number 1 if you want to see a phenomenal artist that we recommended. But while my team was hunting, we came across this gentleman too. Enter Devin Banks. Now, you can find him at Easy's Ink. They have a Facebook page there. Go check him out. Or he has his own Facebook page, Devin Banks Artist on Facebook. Also, we found that he's got his own Google business listing. This was kind of strange to me. I don't know how I feel about this, guys. Sometimes we go to a city and there's 20, 30 artists that have their own Google business listing. It creates confusion for clients. It creates a competition amongst artists, and a lot of times they're just posting fake reviews by their friends or their own accounts. And so I don't really trust this. I don't like to see it when artists do this. But anyway, that aside, let me show you guys the highlights of his work. Bam! Oh my god. Oh boy. Let's start with this one. Just really messy, hard to read, blurry kind of stuff. And if I zoom in here on the whiskers, major, giant, chunky whiskers, he really didn't want to put a lot of time in. But the line work shows me that, and I saw this in his whole portfolio, that you could tell he goes over it once, his lining is not at the proper depth, so he tries to double over it to smooth it out, but it just creates this sort of blurry, blotchy look to it. And I also found it really strange that in some places he would do smooth lines and then other places no lines. And it just was really kind of inconsistent throughout. And then the whole thing just really kind of has this blurry, blotchy effect to it. But don't worry, he colored it to clarify. Bam, there's the colored version of it. Let's zoom in on this. Now, a couple things I hate to see is he just used a bright orange throughout the whole tiger's face there. Really disappointing. I'm not sure why he just kind of did a little bit of speckling in places. I think throughout his whole portfolio, I saw that it seemed like he had an idea in his mind. He did a rough sketch of it, and then he tried to tattoo it without any planning for where the shading's supposed to go or what colors to use where. And that's why you get such a weird look to it. Why are all these colors just so randomly placed in there? It really lacks the clarity. And then you can tell up here in the crease of the butt cheek, man, he was having a difficult time focusing up in that area, obviously. But yeah, altogether, just really messy, kind of blurry looking stuff. Here's a monochromatic piece, and it really just misses the mark. This is something that we're seeing a lot of these roses made out of $100 bills. I get it. We see a ton of them. But the reason why this looks so blurry is it lacks a clarity because there's not enough contrast in there and clean lines in areas where you need them, and there's not enough negative skin where you would need it as well. And so this just from a distance looks like a blurry blotch of reddish pink. It's really hard to tell what's really going on there. So I can tell this is not something he does a lot, and it's definitely not something he planned out ahead of time well enough. Here's a really strange looking piece. Not sure what's going on here. I mean, I see this chunk of meat, it looks like. There's a picket fence around it. There's a cancer ribbon here. Major mistake here, though. When you got somebody with such fair skin, you can't really use these dull of tones just up against their skin. Even if your saturation game is on point and you're saturating those colors solid, it's going to blur into their skin tone, especially this. This is like a skin toner right here. Of course, that's going to blend in their skin. So he really needed a crisp outline here or a backdrop here to differentiate it. But overall, just a really kind of messy, strange look to this piece. I'm not really sure what it is, to be honest. And these banners, again, you can see the line work here. He's doubling and tripling over areas. That's why you get some blurring and blotching. And in some areas he's using thin lines, so he's trying to use multiple line weights, but he's just really struggling to get them at the proper depth and smooth. Now, as for his gray wash stuff, not much better. You can tell he's really rushing why it looks so streaky and whipped in right here. This was obviously a cover-up. You can see part of the cover-up peeking through, going over her nose there. But yeah, the proportions of her face are way off. This hand, I'm pretty sure I only see 3 fingers and a thumb. I think it's missing a finger. But also, like, these leaves up here, just floating there. They're not really connected, just floating leaves. So I just saw a lot of laziness in a lot of places throughout his whole portfolio. And faces were definitely not his skill set. This is a Medusa, and when we compare it to Nancy Callahan's work that we just saw, this is just a night and day difference, especially these snakes. It's really even hard to differentiate where they are, and so when I zoom in on one, you can kind of see where the snake's head is there, but just the line work is too blurry, and there's not enough fine detail for you to really discern what that's supposed to be. And again, the proportions on the face are way off, the shadowing is just not there. It shows he has a real hard time with smooth light gray shading. He seems to use a lot of heavy dark grays, and it creates this really kind of blurry, heavy look to his pieces for sure. Here's a placement underneath the belly, difficult place. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there, but man, when I zoom in on this wing here, that is just strange looking. These feathers are just going rogue in different places, and it's such a cartoony wing for something so giant. But also the shading, as you can see, it's just not on point, not very smooth and soft looking like it's supposed to be. And this crown here, it's definitely not symmetrical. The circles are not circles. It really looks like somebody's etch out of their sketchbook that they just put on somebody without cleaning it up, without smoothing it out. They just kind of put it on somebody, and that's unfortunately how most of his stuff looks. It looks like he's just taking a rough his rough draft and putting it on their skin. And a lot of times new artists, if they weren't well trained, or they weren't trained by an artist that has a lot of discipline, they won't take that extra time before they tattoo it to actually plan out where are your shadows going, where are your colors going, what tones of colors are you going to put where. And I think all of his work kind of lacks that planning, and that's why we're seeing the white in his in this little tiger cub's face. Why is this eye got white over it? This one doesn't. This eye is looking up this way, this eye is looking straight. It's just really messy, gnarly looking stuff, and it's the kind of artist that I would definitely recommend avoiding. Now, he did have a lot of cool like sketches and paintings and stuff. Here's one of his a little bit better ones. It's not the kind of thing I would hang on my wall, but you know, when you do paintings and stuff like this, you can have a little bit of a messy look, and I actually like this backdrop that he did around it. It's kind of cool effect that he put in there. But when you're going to take something like this and convert it into a tattoo, you got to clean it up. You got to make the crown symmetrical, make the circles perfect circles, really clean it up. But he did not. This is how that tattoo turned out. Unfortunately, just just messy and weird looking. Just, this poor person's arm. Jesus. And finally, the last one I'm going to show you, because what is this? Somebody help me in the comments if you have any idea. Tell me what it is. I mean, I see a little birdie up here. I can see a birdie. It might be a knight. I see like this armor plating look to it, but is he wearing a dress? What the? I don't get it. Guys. Anyway, Devin Banks, I just saw a lot of really kind of half-assed kind of stuff that really missed the mark. I think you need a better apprenticeship, brother, and you need to work around some much better artists that can refine your techniques. And is that a permanent makeup tattoo machine? I don't know, but kind of looks like it. You end up on the hack list, my friend. Sorry to say. Go check out part number 1, guys, if you haven't seen it. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.